Dear Brian, sorry it's been a while. I had actually done one of these a couple weeks ago, but I didn't like it. So I'm doing it again. So work is still work, flipping back and forth between 40-hour weeks that are half or more remote and 60-plus hour weeks that are all on site and working on the tools. So that's just the nature of my position at this job location. We'll see if we can get some travel in there soon. There is a new training tool going up that I very much want to be involved with. When it comes to gaming, I did finish Persona 5 Royal a few weeks ago. Took a bunch of pictures of the screen that I haven't actually thrown up in the Discord yet, but that's fine. I wouldn't want to put all of them anyway. I am actually very, very interested in the New Game Plus for a multitude of reasons. Now that I have finished the game, I don't need to worry about spoilers for myself, and I know a lot more about what all carries over in a more intimate sense. Plus a lot of the little nuances. For example, I did not know what was so special about the item that you would get if you decided to have a single romance at the end of the game. Well, now I know, and it is very underwhelming. You end up getting an item from all female confidants, and the special item that you get from your chosen lovely simply has a different naming scheme and has twice the effectiveness, but is still a single-use item. So that is very underwhelming. I thought it might be a reusable item or some sort of accessory that magically allowed you to equip another one and therefore might actually encourage doing a big long playthrough, a bunch of playthroughs in a row so you can collect all these items. And the consumable it just restores SP. That's it. There's nothing special, there's nothing significant. It just restores SP. And it's not even as good as the 100% SP restore in the game. So it's just weak. I never had to use, or very, very rarely used SP items in the first place. And that's with doing full, I would always do as much of the palace as I could in every palace as soon as possible, so that was fewer days out of my schedule spent doing the same thing. And the same with mementos. So those SP adhesive 3s that you get from Takame, they're great. They fill that role already. So I do wish that they were better items, and if they are the same items as they were in the first game, I feel like that was a missed opportunity to make them more special, meaningful, whatever in this one. But oh well. In fact, it's a bit of a relief because now I don't feel like I need to play through the game to collect all of these special items from each of the female confidants, because that would actually require a playthrough per female confidant, per romanceable female confidant, I should specify. Now I don't feel like I need to do that. Now I feel like I can just get through this next playthrough and probably be done with it. So my Persona compendium is not at 100%. because there is one that only unlocks halfway through the New Game Plus, and that is the only one that I have left. So I'm gonna work toward that. And the other thing that's just making this playthrough a ton of fun, just a ton of fun, is that since I did all confidants to max, I did every single conversation, I paid attention, I read it all, I listened to it in Japanese, everything. I didn't skip anything save for a few things with the cat, because the cat would just go on about his feelings and I don't give a shit and blah blah blah. So toward the end I did start to skip through some of the cat stuff, but other than that I went through everything, even the stuff where you did things like you went to Big Bang Burger or you went to the Maid Cafe. I would listen, or I would read, well, both I guess, the stuff that they were talking about, doing everything. So I knew everything about what people were thinking about the weather today. I would always go and listen to the whenever I was in one of the town areas and there were people talking nearby, I would very often go and talk to them, to the point where I started to get some repeats, or at least listen to them, and that included the school. So I did all that. So what I'm doing on this playthrough now is, even though I ended up crossing 192 hours on that first playthrough, a lot of it spent leveling up and such, I am this time, every single time I can hit the options button to speed up dialogue, I am, because I remember what it is. I've experienced it. I remember. I'm good. With my skills all maxed up, now I get to spend time doing the confidants sooner. I don't feel that I really... I did miss out a little bit on the first playthrough, because there is the homeroom teacher confidant. There's a point at which she becomes kind of unusable or unreachable for a while. And if you have her, I do believe it's doable to max her out before it gets to that point. And if you do, you end up getting a lot more time slots opened up to you, because you'll be able to use her services. Because during that time frame where she's unreachable, there are actually times where you need to go into mementos and palaces and such. And so getting those nights back would have been very useful. Now on a New Game Plus, where I don't need to build up my social stats anymore, you can argue that the necessity isn't there, and I would agree. But still, it's just a nice thing to get knocked out as soon as you can. I don't know what that sound is or what creature made it. Anyway, the game is just going to be a lot more fun to play through, a lot quicker to get through. Your level does reset. However, another thing that happens towards the end of the game is that you get these little trinkets from all of your confidants that you have maxed out with. And again, even without following a guide, I did have time to do that with all confidants. I was able to max them out. You get these little trinkets from them, and the great thing about those is that you actually get one of their sort of signature features, abilities, whatever, right away when the game starts up again. So for example, you can call your homeroom teacher over after going into a palace or mementos without having got her all the way up to rank 10 again. So that's incredibly interesting in a number of ways, because so many of these had very usable ones There's the one that lets you swap out party members. There's the one that lets your backup party members level up at the same rate as everybody else. There's the one that, and this is kind of key because of how the Persona registry works, is for a price, and I easily maxed out on my money limit at 10 million yen. I couldn't find ways to spend it. But for a price, you are allowed to summon persona that are a higher level than you. The price goes up per level. And the reason why that's needed is because of how the persona registry works, where you level up personas by using them, and then when something about them changes, like leveling them or teaching them a new skill, whether it's from a skill card or a fusion, you can re-register them, and that changes them. And normally you're only able to summon if you are at their level or higher. Having this item allows you to get around that. Now, you still need money, but again, I didn't have a problem carrying over a ton of money. So that is excellent as well. I think because of the fact that that is the bonus you get from the item you got from that confidant, you don't get one of the other abilities from the confidant just yet, which increased the number of persona that you can carry around. So I think that's still going to be tied to your level with that confidant, and that is one of the few confidants that you don't really do anything with to increase. It just levels as you progress through the story. So they're still going to limit you on how many you can carry around, but that's fine. That's not that's not going to make the game more difficult or anything. There was another thing. I can't remember specifically what it was, because again, it's separate from that Valentine's Day item that you got from your chosen sweetie. But there was something where now, if you have, I can't remember what, it was something I saw after the New Game Plus started, but if you have the chosen persona when you are with that confidant, there's an even higher bonus to it. And that stuck out to me as a bit unusual. So I wonder if that means that you can get 4s off of correct conversation choices, as an example. That would have previously given a 3 if you had the correct persona. So, I don't know, I'll have to look more into that. But I haven't actually touched the game in at least a couple weeks. Spending so much time and so much different time, because my shift keeps changing around and stuff. Up here has made it to where I'm not even really bothering bringing my system back and forth. So now if I play games at all, it's either something that's on the laptop or something that's on the Switch if I'm up here in Chandler. So leaving the PlayStation at home means I can only play Persona while I'm there, but at the same time, home is where I like to get projects done. So I don't actually do much in the way of gaming. But that has led to another benefit, and that is Xsys. Unfortunately, not starting Persona, which is something I've been trying to get her to do for years, since I played the first one, or Persona 5, before Royal. But Ghost of Tsushima, a game that I started on stream, and that is still where it is on stream. She has started playing that and is loving it, and so that's great. She hasn't really been into a game for a while, since, I mean, she played that Switch Zelda remake that came out this year, but I wouldn't say that she was really into it. It was more of a break time at work type thing. So it's been quite a long time since she's really been into a game, and even longer since it was a new game. So this is nice. I just wish it was a game that I was also putting hours into, because I know how much fun it is to have someone to talk to about a game. She does have one guy at work that has started it up, but I think she's outpacing him, and so she's probably really interested in me picking it up. And honestly, I'd be very interested in doing that maybe this Sunday on stream with her there, and she can kind of steer me, because with her experience I can do something like tell her, hey, this is what I'm in the mood for, or this is what I would like out of the game, or I would like to focus on this aspect of my character. What should I do? And she could kind of help out, and that I wonder if she would get a lot of fun out of helping me, steering me to the parts of the game that I'm in the mood for. So that's where that's at. As far as up here, I did actually turn on the Switch a couple times over the past week while falling asleep during these damn 12-hour shifts. That's another thing. When you're working a bunch of 12-hour shifts up here, and I mean a bunch, it makes it to where you don't really do much when you go home. So, but I was throwing Fire Emblem Three Houses in there. Now that's a game I'm pretty sure I've easily crossed the 60-hour mark, and yet I'm still on chapter 11 or whatever. So that has to do with the fact that you have those battles that you can select that don't take up a turn, and I just kept doing those because I kept leveling up, I kept training my skills, I kept getting the relationships up whenever I was using a new character, whenever I was borrowing them for the month, if you want to put it that way. If you just keep doing battles with them, you can actually keep working up on that background affection stat with them. And so every single time I did that, I would approach them at the school, ask them to help me out for the month. They would say sure. And then I would battle with them so much and do stuff. I know that stuff in proximity in combat mattered. And so I would keep my character around them on the battlefield and make sure that they would interact. And it always, so far, has worked out where that next week, that character would approach me and ask to join my house. So I know that works. So that's great. Next is, now I feel like I've got to a good point with the leveling where I don't really want to do that anymore. So I'm focusing on just trying to get through different story elements. Another reason to level up is because of the certifications. So being able to go up to the next class. However, they do have that one thing in place where if you have, where the hell am I? I don't know where I am. I just walked and just went places. Interesting. Anyway, they do have that thing in place where if you are a much higher level, it cuts into how much level you get from what you kill, and that also goes down into the stats that you're leveling or the skills that you're focusing to train. So that's another thing that is kind of pushing me into just getting back into the story and progressing that, because at some point it's going to get to, because there are some times where I feel like I might not have actually got any experience from beating something up. So getting back into the story is interesting, but at the same time there is also the DLC. So the third DLC came out a few months ago, and it introduced more characters into the game, and I am very interested in that because there's at least one of them that I really want on my team, but probably two. But you have to play through this separate story that's completely I very much like how they handled this. This is exactly what this ticks off all the boxes I would have asked for on a piece of content that's like this. But it's a separate kind of game on its own that you select from the main menu before you even get into yours, and it's also got its own separate saves. So that's excellent. So what I'm reading is that it's a, just a sec. It is a 6 to 8 hour story on its own, and when you finish it, those characters will be recruitable in the main game. I believe I am still on part 1 of the main game, and that means that I am not too far, because there was something about that. I don't know, there was conflicting stuff. There was everyone saying you're still only able to recruit them when you are still in part 1 of the main game, but then a bunch of people in the same article also saying, don't worry, you won't have to restart to get these characters in the main game. So I have no clue how those two things are supposed to mesh, but whatever. I feel like I'm in the clear either way. So outside of games comes projects. So I recently did a 2-week undertaking of going through an old Mafia game I played and just randomly picking a bunch of posts, and ones that seemed like they stuck out for various reasons. And whether it was okay for the people that were, I mean, it was definitely not at all geared toward people who have not played Mafia before, but for those that have, and especially those that went through the game, I wanted to pick enough of, and I don't know if I failed or succeeded, I don't know, but I wanted to pick enough of the actual game talk posts to matter, to where you could kind of follow along. And reading the results posts out were probably the biggest contributor to that, because that is, after all, where most of the information is contained, not in any single player's post. And then just posts that you can kind of just get a chuckle out of, and did a gag with a do. So that was just something fun. I can't keep playing Mafia, but I can do weird shit like that once in a while. And it cost, I don't even know how much it cost me in do, because I had to go and buy all that shit. I didn't have that laying around, all those different dues. And then the damn, just for a gag, that I don't even feel I executed that well. That damn bag hanger and bag was about 50 bucks on its own. So now I'm gonna throw the bag away and see if there's some medical facility nearby that wants another bag hanger. So that's done. This book that I've been off and on with for years in different fashions, I feel that that's going to end very quickly. I'm gonna actually get the ball rolling on that pretty much now. The person that owns the whole property that I've been working with, he and I work very, very, very differently. And despite having shared with him that there are things that I need in order to get this sort of creative thing going, he has repeatedly stressed to me that he has no interest at all in figuring any of that stuff out, that he wants me to just create. So this makes me think that way, way, way back when he first started his first art class, his instructor must have sat him down in front of a big 6 square foot canvas, gave him a black pen, and told him, create. And he did something fucking wonderful with it. And so now that's how he wants to deal with anyone that he works with going forward. Well, I can't do that. And I've always got the big picture in mind. So when it comes to figuring out the layout of the book and the size of the pages and the consequent word limits per page and all that other sort of stuff, I know for a fact he doesn't care about that because he has said so multiple times. And on top of that, there was a specific piece of art that we were trying to do for this one book, and I was letting him know that this is the one page, or one of 2 pages, or facing pages, sets of facing pages in the book where the text was going to be on the image. So I needed a bunch of dead space in the middle for the text to go, or at least, even if it wasn't dead space, something where a unicolor font, possibly with a different colored border, could go. And he just didn't like it. To him, the composition of the art was more important, so he had to squeeze everything together to get rid of that dead space. And that makes sense for the art, but it doesn't make sense for the book. For me, you need to be thinking about all those things at once. And so that's just an example of how we fundamentally work differently. So I actually sent him a big 20-something minute video about where I am with the project, with this new project, and let him know that I'm going to need some help. And he came back with that same sort of, just create, skip all that stuff. So I'm going to look at what he gave me, and I'm going to let him know if I can or can't. If I can, and I can get him a piece, and he actually likes it, and everyone in his household likes it, because that's another barrier, then we'll move forward. Actually, it's easier to start off with. If he doesn't like it, then I'll just say, well, I guess it's just not going to work out, because we want different things out of this project. For me, I need to look at a piece and be inspired, and if I'm not, I'm going to skip it. Or I'm going to need someone else to give me their inspiration for it, and then I can work off that. But if it seems like I can't even get one piece right for him, then we're definitely not going to get a whole book out of this. If he does like it, then we'll move forward, but I'm going to give him, not an ultimatum or anything, but I'm going to tell him that what I said before still applies. These barriers that I was sharing, they are barriers to me further creating in this project. They are not things that we can just throw by the wayside. We actually do need to pay attention to them. So either I get the sort of assistance that I was requesting, or we gotta just stick a fork in it and either move on to the next thing or just acknowledge that I don't think we can really get a thing out of this, at least not in this form, not in this medium. So either way, I think that the this is going to be figured out pretty quickly, and that's good because either it spurns a bunch of activity and then possibly get a book out, and the book doesn't need to be insanely successful. I'm sure that both of us would be very happy with some limited amount of success, and it turns, it helps us both pay off some debt or something. That would be just fine. Or the project ends and I just move on to my own personal projects, and that's important to me as well because that brings us to Project Raider. So I am spinning back up on that. Exis is going to be involved. The goal there is going to be while I am finishing the script, because I am getting very close to the end, she's going to be going through and doing sort of two things. One of them is making sure that everything that I wrote makes sense first time, because although she will be at a disadvantage when it comes to understanding what I'm trying to say, being that she won't be seeing video of me explaining it with the stresses in the correct place and such, like everyone else will, I still feel like even if that video was there, there might be some people that are lost. So it's actually interesting to me. If she gets it from reading, then I feel that that's okay, that it will have passed and people will get it when I am showing and speaking and doing it in a more helpful way. So, but if she doesn't, then she'll make notes on those places. But additionally, she's going to be able to take that growing 17 plus pages of notes and start throwing them into the sections where they are most appropriate. And that's very helpful for me because that was something that was going to take me a lot of time to do in the first place. But for her, if she just has two windows open, one on the notes and then one where where she's just reading through anyway, then she's just read the section for another reason. She'll know where to throw those notes in. So that'll just save a lot of time in the end. So once I finish the script, I go back in and I start writing these notes in. I know there's a couple sections that I kind of need to rewrite because of something that I have come up with later on. So those are going to get the rework once I get that, and I will explain to her what's coming. So that's the next step for that. And I do like the idea now. And it was just a simple visual cue I got of something completely unrelated that made me think, yes. I kept struggling with it, but I guess it is the right call to do this in multiple parts. And that is, not only is it easier for people to just pick up and put down at a later time, but chapters and books, that was the visual cue I got. I watched a video and they were just using stock footage of someone flipping through a book, and there were chapter headers there, and I thought, you know what, books have been done that way forever, not only as stopping points, but as a way to signify, all right, we're changing tracks. If you want, you can stop and collect thoughts. And so that just made me think, okay, I probably should have been planning this the whole way. So rewriting everything slightly to make it episodic instead of this gigantic 3-part novel thing is also going to take place. But I don't think that that's going to be too difficult. and putting everything into bite-sized chunks is good. I'm going to be looking for a new editing software, so the previous graphical problem that I was having with Adobe should go away. So, and I can do that now. I can actually stop my subscription to Adobe now. I've spent over $1,000 on that fucking program with monthly fees. I gotta stop that. So I'm gonna be using these other programs, and they should be just fine for what I need to do. And they'll be free. And ultimately, if they end up doing the job and I get these videos out, I'm gonna throw some money their way. Why not? So it will be a bit of a learning curve on learning how to use it, but that's fine. That won't be a problem. It'll be better than trying to get shit Adobe to work, because that thing gave me so many problems. Even for this little quick problem, this project that I did with Mafia, there were still problems, multiple problems, and I'm done with it. I would rather have some other program's problems right now that doesn't cost me money, because I could have used that $1,000. So that's it. I guess I'll leave you with a little nugget, a little memory of you, or kind of memory, but I just went and saw, I opened up my, the website for the Xbox dashboard, and went and looked on my friends list and saw your most recent community post on there from 2017 when you were doing Assassin's Creed, and it made me wonder which game it was in, because I think it told me, but I think I wanted to not know and just, maybe I'll find that in the game one day. But I also might not, because if it's not, I played the first one, I played it all the way through so that I could say, without anybody questioning me giving it a chance, that no, I did not like it for many reasons. But I absolutely enjoyed what I played of Origins, and I want to get back into that someday on stream. Then I will allow myself to buy Odyssey and do the same with that, and then we'll see when it comes to Vikings. We will see. But I guess that's all for now. I miss you, buddy. We'll talk again soon.